So this week I'm going to have a go at making some explosion and smoke markers, a variety of different types. Right, let me just get this all cleared up. We'll get the wire out and we'll make a start. Right, so I've cut some wires, not necessarily to the right length, but I can adjust that once they're done. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue them to my bases with my glue gun, because that's going to be the quickest fix. And once it's dried and cooled, I can then shape it to how I want it. Right, well, I've had the glue gun on for a while, so it should be warm enough now. I'm basically folding the wires almost exactly in two, if you like. But as I say, we can adjust that once they're in place. But at the minute, I just want to get the base of it glued in place. Right, so I'll start with this one. A little blob down first and sink that into it. Now you've got to just let it cool down a bit. Just hold it in place until it sets. We're going to be putting a lot more down because obviously we're going to add each one. And as we do, it'll get firmer. Then bring that up towards me and blow on it a bit. There you go. So that's that first one in place. And then we get the next one, again folded in half. Put that to the centre of it. And then a bit more glue gun. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one more piece in the middle, so like the central part of the explosion. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend a little tiny bit over to give it a better way of supporting it, into the glue. There's lots of different ways you can make these, really. I'm just basically using some of the most popular ways that people have done in the past. You can go with different people's ideas and then adapt it to your own and put it how you want it. One thing I am going to do here is I've melted down some of my old metal sprues and I'm going to use them as weights for the base. Because I know I can build up the base around it with the glue. Just bend them out of the way a minute. Right, just give me a second. Right, so I've got this tray out now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely cover the weight up to and around the weight and the base with my glue. You'll see why in a minute. I'm going to do this fairly fast. I'll put that to one side. And then I'm going to use my tea leaves on it. Got to operate quick, so I'm just tipping it on really. While it's wet, just push that. Shake it off. Doesn't matter about the edges and that, we can straighten them up afterwards. So that's what it's looking like. So it's almost like ready based, and it hides all of the connections. Right. So basically at that stage, as you can see now, it's got a bit more weight in the base. Right, so they're all done now. Got them in obviously different sizes and shapes. I don't need to make them uniform because I want them to all look a little bit different. And once the wires are in place, like this one, it's just a matter of cutting them to how long you want them. Now I'm going to leave some a lot higher than others, but I'm going to just start by, you know, let me zoom that round and zoom it in a little bit if I can. I'm going to start by just bending these ones outwards, you know, so it's like an explosion. Try and get the bend all in the, you know, all along the wire, rather than a oblique angle, or so it looks like it's exploding, like that. And I'm quite happy with the length on these ones. I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. I don't need this central one to be that high though. I think I might just go to about a little bit longer than these would have been, perhaps here. That's it, and as you can see, this is all firm now. Obviously with it being stuck inside that glue, it's not going to come away either. One or two injuries yesterday, I've got to be honest. A few little hot glue burns. But right, so the next bit is using some clump foam. I mean, I've seen people use all kinds of different types. The first thing I want to do is, I've got this old, I don't know where I got this stuff from, but I don't like using it much. It's supposedly supposed to look like a berry thing, but it just doesn't look natural to me, so I don't use it very often. So I'm going to use some of that in this, because you ain't going to see those bits, because obviously we're going to be painting it afterwards. So I shall use some of that for the main body, but I've got these other bits. Right, I've zoomed in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little blob of glue at the bottom. And then I want to break a small bit off. And you just basically piercing it through the centre and then pushing it all the way down to the bottom. And that's it. So that's just looking like that at the moment. And all you're going to do is, each time you put a piece down, is just put a small amount of glue that's going to hold it in position, not too much. It'll harden up a lot more when we paint it. So take a few bits out of that one. You know, if there's bits that you're not happy with, you want it to look a bit random, really. Right, next bit. Try not to make it too uniform. Because you want you want it to be looking like it's billowing like smoke. I'm just slowly building it up now. You can see the effect that it's trying to have. It's like looking like the billowing smoke of the explosion. It'll look more effective once we start putting the sides on, but you can see the way it's going on anyway. Right, leave it with me, and I'm gonna just make up one of those arms, and then I'll bring it back and show you before I finish it off. Right, so that's like the second armature of it going out, and all I've got to do is continue doing that all the way around. And sometimes it becomes quite effective to have these at different lengths, I think. I've cut this one a little bit shorter than it originally was, but I'm going to see how I go with the others, and when it starts, you know, once you start building it up, you get a feel for how you want it to look. Right, I'm going to press on and get this one finished now, and then I'll bring you back. Right, so this is the first one done. As you can see, it's fairly straightforward. I think I prefer this clump foliage to the one I've got, but I do want to use some of this up. It seems a good way to get rid of it, and you know, I can always find a lot more use for this type than I can for the green. So I am going to carry on mixing it in, because once it's sprayed up, it'll blend in a lot better. But the idea is to keep it looking erratic and billowing all the way through, really. Right, okay then, I'll crack on and get the rest done, and then I'll bring you back. Right, time for a bit of a change up. As you can see, I've done quite a few of the explosions with the clump foam. The only thing is I've run out of the, you know, the really stiff type stuff that you have to pull apart. Most of the rest of what I've got is kind of, you know, looser, so it's not very good for these. You need it to be that bonded type of clump foam. But anyway, I mean, I've got quite a few out of it so far, so that's not a problem. But now I'm going to experiment. I thought I'd try something a bit different. I weren't planning on doing this, and you'll never guess what's made me think of doing it. If you've been watching me for a while, you'll know that occasionally my pooches, my dogs, make an appearance. Well, the other day we bought Bob a new toy, and as is his wont, sometimes he likes to destroy them quite quickly. And he did so the other day. And what come out of it, I've washed it by the way, just in case you're worrying. Out of his new toy come these balls of some kind of stuffing. I'm not sure it's exactly the same as the teddy bear stuff, because it don't feel quite the same. But I thought, I've washed it, why not just see if I can make like an explosion out of these? More of a smoke type explosion. And you know, while I've been making these, I've been thinking about this. I haven't got any bases prepared apart from these ones now, so I'm gonna go with this on there. But I think something like this might work really well for explosions at sea. You know, if you painted it right, if your base was more of a, you know, blue colour or whatever. Say on, you know, my D-Day Beach gaming mat. If I had a blue base and then some of these, and then you like painted it up with like water, white for the froth of the water going up in the air, and a bit of blue towards the bottom, they might look good as water explosions. So that's something I might explore in the future. But for now, because I've got these bases, I'm going to use these. And I'm not sure how it's going to work, but I'm going to give it a go. So, you know, just bear with me if it doesn't work out quite right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dollop of glue down the bottom here first. I'm going to put the first one on. As I say, it's not something I'm planning, so I'm just thinking on my feet. It might work, it might not, but I think it's worth a try. Look at some of the other ones that come out of it. At least it's making use of his cuddly toy. Yeah, Bob don't always destroy his toys, it's just now and again he likes to do it. My son and my daughter like to try and compete against him with his Christmas presents to get him one that he won't pull apart. But this one is 1-0 to Bob. Bob's loss is my gain. Right, so in the end I decided to chop it down a bit. It was looking too big. I think that's a lot better scale for this, for what I'm looking for. I think bigger explosions would have worked, but it started to clutter up the table too much. So, yeah, quite happy with that. And that said, I went on and made another small one as well. So what I'm going to do now is, with the last few bits, I'm going to press on and get the last ones done, and I'll keep them small, and then I'll bring you back. Right, back in a second. Right, so they're all done, and I've managed to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and 7 of the others. So that's 2 types that I wanted to have a go at, and the third one is going to be with these little, battery operated tea lights, so you can light them up from underneath. So what I'm going to do now is I'll clear these to one side, get myself set up, and then I'll bring you back for these, and then when we've done them, then we'll go back and do all the painting together. Right, back in a minute. Right, for these light ones, I want to use these like if I've got an explosion near a building or whatever. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting a length of wire and I'm bending it into like a crude mushroom shape. We don't want it like a nuclear explosion, but I just want it to have a bit of shape to it, so it's not just, sticking up as one big column. And then that I'm going to fix with my glue gun, and then I'll do another one the other way and glue gun it at the top as well, and that'll be like the framework for me to put the teddy bear stuffing around. I'm just waiting for my gun to warm up, so while I'm doing that, I'm going to cut a few more of these. Try and make them similar to the other, but it doesn't matter if they're not totally. About there. It's about the same. Right, let's see if it's ready to put the first one on. Can always bend it a little bit more to how I like it once it's on, but same again on the other side. Try not to burn my fingers with with the glue gun this time. And that's basically it. I mean, obviously I'll reshape that, but I'm just waiting to make sure this is totally gone off before I start manipulating it. Obviously this is just the skeleton, so you know it's not going to be so perfectly round when it comes to actually putting the foam on, obviously. I think what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to glue this at the top so it don't move around. I mean, you could play around with these and do a lot of different effects, really. I did toy with having a little bit of a base around it so I could put, you know, like house bricks and stuff like that and rubble so it looks good in the house. But then I thought, if I do, it's going to limit it to where I can put it. So I'm going to leave it, you know, basic on this occasion. I need to snip a bit off on this, but we'll do that after. Just hold it. Just got to learn to have a bit of patience, Hunter. Trust me, it won't look like such a light bulb when you start wrapping the stuff around it. It won't look so bad. But it just gives it a bit of shape. So that's it. I mean, you could go over it and have another, you know, so it's a complete cage around it if you wanted to. I don't think I'm going to bother. I think that might be enough. I'll see how it goes when I come to wrap it round. But I'm going to let that dry and I'm going to get on and do the other two off camera and then I'll bring you back. Right, now comes the bit of actually sticking this foam on. Unfortunately, I'm finding all these little curly bits in my foam that I've got, which I think could spoil the look, so I haven't picked them out. What they are, just irritating. Right, so all I'm going to do with this is put a smudge of my glue around the bits that I want to wrap it around. Start along the bottom, probably going to have to do it in stages. Right, let's get it in place now. next bit. What I've had to do is I've had to strip down all the extra layers so I can keep it to the shape. And with it having all these annoying little curly bits in it, I'm basically having to put it on smaller amounts, which is a bit of a pain, but at least it won't spoil the look of it. You can see it's starting to take shape. Right, I think that one's looking better now. It's took a bit longer than I wanted it to, with it, being this stuff. I'm not. I can see the wires a little bit at the moment, but then I haven't painted it up yet. So if I feel the need to touch it up, I'll just put a couple of bits of extra fluff on that bit. But basically, that's the shape of it that I'm looking for. And it's fairly robust, having done it this way, even though it's a bit more time consuming. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to crack on with the other two, and then when they're done I'll bring you back. Right, so that's all three of them done. Trying to make them vary a little bit in size. Would have been a bit simpler if I hadn't have had all that curly stuff to pick out of my teddy bear filler. but it's worth it in the end. I've got the effect that I wanted. You're not going to see the light on at the minute, because obviously, well, I don't know whether you'll see that or not if I turn this off. Let's turn the other one off. Whether you can see them, I'll light the other one up. There you go. A nice flickering effect. Obviously we've got to paint them up yet, but I'm just going to let them all dry now, and then we'll start the painting process on them all. Right, I'll get that all set up and I'll bring you back. Right, so it's time for a little bit of painting, and wish me luck, I'm going to use this extremely cheap airbrush. I have watered down, well, thinned some yellow paint. Whether it's going to be thin enough for this gun and the power of it, I don't know, but we'll soon find out. And what I'll do first is I'll just try a spray and see what it comes out like. Seems to be coming out. Well, I'm not quite sure, but let's see. The yellow. I'm going to do the yellow on all three, I think. So far so good. Right, bear with me and I'm going to switch colours now. Right, so let's switch to the orange. Next one. if I look a bit rough doing this, it's because I've never done it before. Hopefully it'll turn out okay in the end though. You got to try, and you know, that's the thing. Never be afraid to try. There's always so many people better than you, but at the end of the day, if you don't try it, you never learn, do you? We could do with a little bit more, but I need to tip a bit more in. Right, I've got to be a little bit more sparing with the red, I think. That'll do. Right, so I wouldn't normally use a spray can, but I'm going to spray the black now. And I just want to show you one, and then I'm going to do all the others outside. Right. Now with this, it's got to be really lightly done or you can overdo it. And I'm just basically going to go for very light bursts. I think that will do. I don't want to overdo it. If I think I need more, I'll come back to it. Alright, well I don't think they've come out too bad. I mean, it is my first attempt at these. I'm pretty pleased with them. They do look a little bit nuclear, but I'm sure they'll look fine, you know, if I put them against a big building or something like that. I think they'd look the part. I'm putting them, I've turned the lights off a bit so you could perhaps see what they look like with the light flashing on it. I'll put them all on. They look quite effective. Like I say, they're quite big. I think maybe if I made some more I'd go for something a bit smaller, but nevertheless I'm sure I can find a use for the odd one, put in it here and there. So yeah, not too bad. On the whole, I'm pretty pleased with them. As I say, could probably look at slimming it down a bit, taking this back a bit, but I think on the whole I'm pretty happy with it. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the lights on, bring in the other ones that need finishing, and we'll get them cracked and done. Right, back in a second. Right, so these have come out pretty well now. Obviously I've got to add the colour to these ones, but it's nice and stiff now, these are. You know, they feel a lot stronger. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is, I've got a fairly stiff brush here. I'm going to try and put a bit of colouring on these now. And try and do, you know, a similar effect to what I did with the airbrush on the other ones, but in this instance I'm going to try doing it with a brush because I think it'll probably be better and easier on these ones. start with the yellow down at the base here. I think the thing is, it's probably best to, you know, keep it fairly light. You know, I don't want to, I want the black to show through as well. Just go so far up. A little bit of the glow on the base as well. So it's looking like that at the minute. I think, like before, I'm probably going to focus on just doing the yellow first, and then it saves them to keep washing out the brush for each one. So I'll go on to do the next one now. What I'll do is I'll get the rest of these done to the yellow stage, and then I'll bring you back. Right, now we can go in with the orange. I'm using Army Painter for this one, lava orange. And obviously what you want here is you want the yellow to still be through. So you don't want to obscure all that with the orange, you just want to mix it in a bit. So that's looking a bit like that now. Right, I'll crack on and get the rest of the orange done on these, and then I'll bring you back for the red. Right, now we're going to add the red. So that's looking like that now. What I will be doing, obviously, once I've done all of these in the red now, is I'll perhaps knock it down a little bit with some black paint, just so it's got some black mixed in with that as well. Right, I'll crack on and get the rest of these done on the red colour, and then I'll bring you back. Right, now let's just tone that down now by drawing down a bit of black to break it up. it a bit. A little bit up there as well. Because we mainly want it down at the bottom where the explosion's happening and not going too far up. But you do want the odd spark. There we go. There as well. Right, I'll crack on, get the rest of these done, and then I'll bring you back. Right, so I'm just going to experiment now with a little bit of a grey up the top. Just pick out a few highlights. Nothing too much. What do you think? Yeah, that's brought it to life a bit more, rather than just too jet black. I hesitate to put too much on because, you know, it's one of them where you can feel it's all of a sudden it just goes past where it needs to be, so you've got to be kind of sparing with it or it kind of ruins the effect. Right, I'm going to do that to the rest of them, and I think that we're nearly done then with these. Right, so that's all of these ones done, and I brought these others in that you see me making with the wool, and I've just given those a dusting with black to make them look more like a smoke explosion. So that's them, and then obviously the ones that you saw earlier for the bigger explosions. So that's them all done. So what I'm going to do now is I'll take a few pictures so you can have a proper look at them, and we'll get this one wrapped up. So I'll just give you a quick glimpse of them, and then I'll mock up a little battle situation to show you what's in. And this is the other ones that we painted at the bottom. They're not looking too bad now, especially with the grey smoke. I think that makes it look better. Once again, here they are in a mock battle. And then finally, these are the smoke ones that I made with the Bob's toy. And they've come out not too bad, actually. Whether I could colour them at the bottom, maybe. But I'm happy with them. It's first attempt. Well, there was a lot of firsts for these with me. Never done anything like these before. On the whole, I'm pretty pleased with them. You know, there's a few things I'd change, no doubt, but as a first attempt, I'm pretty pleased. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found something interesting in it. And maybe even have a go at making some of your own. Right, I'll wrap this one up and I'll see you again soon. Bye.